The Rosewood Estate ballroom glittered like a jeweled box. Crystal chandeliers caught light and threw it across 200 faces, colleagues, family, society's finest. Catherine Montgomery stood at the podium in deep burgundy silk, every inch the beloved matriarch celebrating 40 years of marriage. Maya watched from table 7, champagne glass cold against her palm. Catherine's voice carried smooth and warm through the microphone. She thanked everyone for coming. She reminisced about decades of love and partnership. Then her gaze found Maya across the room, and something shifted behind her smile. We've been blessed with wonderful additions to our family over the years. Catherine's tone stayed light, practiced, though some have required more adjustment than others. Polite chuckles rippled through the crowd. When Daniel brought home his bride, we had to expand our understanding of family tradition. Catherine paused for effect. Let's just say Maya has brought very different energy into our world. Urban energy, if you will. The laughter grew louder. Maya's fingers tightened on her glass. She felt Daniel's hand land on her shoulder, gentle warning asking her to stay quiet. Catherine continued, her smile never wavering. But we're learning. We're adapting. Even when certain cultural inexpressions test our patience, Maya's throat closed. The room blurred at the edges. 2 years of this. 2 years of jokes wrapped in silk, cruelty disguised as family warmth. She'd swallowed every insult, believing silence was survival. Catherine raised her glass. To family. Even the unexpected parts. The room toasted. Maya stood slowly, champagne untouched. She walked toward the stage, heels clicking against marble. Whispers followed her. Daniel half rose from his seat, confusion creasing his face. Maya reached the podium. Catherine's smile faltered just slightly. Thank you, Catherine, Maya said, voice steady as stone. I'd like to share something too. She pulled out her phone. 2 years earlier, Maya hadn't believed in love at first sight. Then she met Daniel Montgomery at the Children's Hospital Charity Gala, and everything she thought she knew rewrote itself in an evening. He was an architect presenting a pro bono community center design. She was a corporate lawyer, volunteering her time to review donor contracts. They collided at the refreshment table, reaching for the same champagne flute. His laugh was genuine. His questions about her work were specific, interested. No performative charm, just curiosity. They talked through dinner, then through the after-party, then at a diner until 3 in the morning. Maya had built her career on precision and control. She'd graduated top of her class at Columbia Law, made junior partner at 32, won cases other attorneys called unwinnable. She didn't do impulsive. But Daniel felt different, like finding something she hadn't known was missing. 3 months later, he proposed at the Brooklyn Bridge at sunset. Maya said yes before he finished the question. Then she met his family. The Montgomery estate sat in Connecticut like a monument to old money, Georgian columns, manicured gardens, history thick as fog. Catherine answered the door in pearls and lavender, her smile bright and sharp as cut glass. So this is Maya. Catherine's gaze traveled from Maya's emerald dress to her natural hair, styled in elegant twists. Daniel's told us so much about you. The words were warm. The tone was ice. Dinner unfolded in careful civility. Catherine asked questions that felt like traps. Where did you grow up? What do your parents do? You're so articulate. Where did you study? Maya answered evenly, sensing the minefield beneath every inquiry. Daniel's father, Richard, mostly grunted and focused on his steak. Daniel's sister, Caroline, watched everything with unreadable eyes. After dessert, Catherine touched Maya's arm. You'll have to forgive us. We're not used to such vibrant energy at our table, Maya smiled. I'm just being myself. Of course, dear. Catherine's hand lingered a moment too long. Though you might find that fitting in requires a certain adaptation. Driving home, Maya stayed quiet. Daniel reached for her hand. She's warming up. Give her time. Maya wanted to believe him. She tried to believe him. But something cold had settled in her chest, whispering warnings she wasn't ready to hear. The engagement party was 3 months away. Maya told herself things would improve. Catherine would see her, really see her, and the walls would come down. She was wrong. The engagement party planning began with Catherine's email. "Let me help, darling. I know these events can be overwhelming for someone unfamiliar with our social circle." Maya suggested a spring garden theme with vibrant colors, burnt orange and mustard yellow, reflecting both their backgrounds. Catherine's response came back within an hour. Perhaps something more refined. "We want elegance, not carnival." Every idea Maya proposed met resistance. The caterer she loved? Too experimental. The band she found? Too loud. The venue she researched? Not appropriate for their guest list. Finally, Catherine sent the dress code, black tie, elegant and refined. "Let's show our guests the best version of ourselves." 2 days before the party, Catherine called Maya into her sitting room. Afternoon light filtered through gauzy curtains. Catherine sat in a velvet chair like a queen granting audience. "Maya, dear, I wanted to chat about your attire." Catherine's voice dripped honey. "I'm sure you have lovely taste, but these events require a certain subtlety." Maya's spine straightened. "I've chosen something appropriate." "I'm sure you have," Catherine smiled, "but perhaps something less bold. Less attention-seeking. We want you to fit in, not stand out for the wrong reasons." The words landed like stones. Maya's jaw tightened. "I'll dress appropriately, of course." Catherine stood, smoothing her skirt. "I'm only trying to help. You're entering a world that has certain expectations. It would be unfortunate if you made people uncomfortable." The engagement party arrived bright and polished. Maya wore a blush-pink gown. Elegant, understated, chosen specifically to avoid Catherine's criticism. She and Daniel greeted guests at the entrance, his hand warm in hers. Catherine worked the room like a conductor, directing conversations and attention. When she introduced Maya to guests, her smile never quite reached her eyes. "This is Daniel's fiancée, Maya." Catherine's hand rested on Maya's shoulder, grip just tight enough to feel controlling. "Daniel's very brave choice. We're all learning to embrace modern love." Laughter circled the group. One woman raised her eyebrows. "How refreshing." Another leaned in conspiratorially. "Oh, you must have quite the story." Maya forced her smile to stay fixed. Daniel laughed along, oblivious or unwilling to see the cruelty beneath the words. When someone asked about Maya's work, Catherine interrupted smoothly. "She's a lawyer, very ambitious. We're hoping marriage will soften those sharp edges." More laughter. Maya's champagne glass shook in her hand. She excused herself to the bathroom and locked the door behind her. In the mirror, her reflection looked small, diminished. She pressed her palms against the marble counter and let the tears come silently. Outside, the party continued without her. Daniel never came looking. That night, lying beside her sleeping fiancé, Maya stared at the ceiling. Catherine's words circled her mind like vultures. Brave choice. Sharp edges. Fit in. She thought of her grandmother Lorraine, who'd faced down segregationists and won. Who'd taught Maya that silence was sometimes strategy, not surrender. But this didn't feel strategic. It felt like drowning. Maya stood at the bathroom mirror, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. The party's music hummed through the walls, muffled celebration while she unraveled alone. She gripped the counter edge, knuckles pale. Every insult played on loop. Brave choice. Modern love. Sharp edges. Each phrase designed to remind her she didn't belong, would never belong, no matter how perfectly she dressed or spoke or smiled. Her grandmother's face surfaced in her memory. Lorraine, 83 and fierce until the end, sitting across from Maya at that old kitchen table. Baby, they'll try to make you small. That's what fear does. It shrinks everything it touches. Maya had been 12 then, crying over racist comments at her predominantly white school. Lorraine had held her hands and taught her the first rule of survival. You don't let them see you break. You stand tall. You document. You wait. but standing tall felt impossible tonight. Maya looked at herself, the perfect dress, the straightened edges of her hair, the mask she'd worn all evening. She barely recognized the woman staring back. Daniel slept soundly in the guest room Catherine had prepared for them. Separate rooms, of course. Tradition? Catherine had said with that smile. He didn't hear the cruelty. Or maybe he heard it and chose comfort over confrontation. Either way, Maya was alone in this beautiful prison. She thought about calling off the engagement, packing her bags, reclaiming herself. But something stubborn flickered in her chest, her grandmother's fire refusing to be extinguished. They want you gone, Maya thought. So you stay, you stand. You don't give them the satisfaction. She wiped her eyes, fixed her makeup, and returned to the party. Catherine's gaze found her immediately, sharp and knowing. Maya met those eyes and smiled. Let Catherine think she'd won. Let her believe Maya was broken. Underestimation, Lorraine had taught her, was a weapon, too. Maya was 8 years old when her grandmother taught her chess on a Sunday afternoon. Rain tapped against the windows of Lorraine's Brooklyn brownstone. The chessboard sat between them, pieces arranged in perfect order. This game isn't about moving fast, Lorraine said, her voice rich with decades of courtroom battles. It's about moving smart. You watch, you wait. You plan 3 moves ahead. Maya had moved her pawn impulsively. Lorraine's knight captured it within seconds. See that? Lorraine smiled gently. You reacted. Champions don't react, baby. They strategize. Lorraine Washington had been a civil rights attorney when that meant death threats and burning crosses. She'd dismantled segregation laws in 3 southern states, argued before the Supreme Court twice, and won cases everyone said were impossible. Not with rage, though she had every right to it. With patience, evidence, irrefutable truth presented so clearly that juries had no choice but to see. Maya grew up watching her grandmother prepare for trials, files organized meticulously, witnesses interviewed and re-interviewed, every detail documented, every claim backed by proof. Lorraine never shouted in court. She didn't need to. The facts spoke loud enough. Anger is easy, Lorraine told Maya one evening, reviewing case notes at that same kitchen table. Anyone can scream. But justice? Real justice requires discipline. You build your case brick by brick, and when you finally present it, no one can deny what's right in front of them. Those lessons shaped everything Maya became. She approached law school the same way Lorraine approached those impossible cases, methodically, thoroughly, with quiet determination. While classmates pulled all-nighters cramming, Maya built study systems weeks in advance. While others panicked before exams, she stayed calm, trusting her preparation. Her first major case as a junior associate involved a black employee suing a corporation for discrimination. The company had money, power, connections. Maya's supervising partner wanted to settle. Maya thought of her grandmother. Document everything. Build the case. Let truth do the work. She spent 6 months collecting emails, recording testimony, building an evidence trail so comprehensive the company settled for triple the original offer, rather than face trial. Lorraine had smiled that day, pride shining in her tired eyes. You learned well, baby. Now, sitting in Catherine's guest room after the engagement party, Maya opened her laptop. Her grandmother's chessboard sat on the dresser, the one inheritance Maya had requested after Lorraine passed. She created a new folder, titled it simply Documentation. Catherine thought Maya was weak, thought silence meant surrender. She didn't understand that Maya came from a lineage of women who turned patience into power. Maya began typing. Dates, times, quotes, every microaggression, every cruel joke, every dismissal. She'd learned from the best. And Catherine Montgomery had no idea what was coming. The game had begun. Maya was 3 moves ahead. 3 months before the anniversary gala, Maya stayed at the Montgomery estate for the weekend. Daniel was touring a construction site in Boston. Catherine insisted Maya join her for quality time. Saturday afternoon, Catherine went to her garden club meeting. Maya wandered the house, feeling like a guest in what was supposed to become her family home. She passed Catherine's private sitting room. The door stood slightly ajar. Maya hesitated, then pushed it open. The room smelled like expensive perfume and old money. Catherine's desk sat by the window, leather-bound journal lying open on its surface. Maya's feet carried her forward before her mind could stop them. The handwriting was elegant, practiced. The words were venom. Daniel's infatuation continues. The girl is educated, I'll grant her that, but she lacks breeding, lacks refinement. I've tried to guide her toward appropriate presentation, but she seems determined to remain unpolished. Maya's breath caught. She kept reading. Richard worries about the bloodline. What will our grandchildren be? We've built something pure here, something worthy of our name. This union threatens everything we've preserved. The entries continued, each worse than the last. Slurs Maya hadn't heard since childhood. Fears about contamination. Plans to manage the optics once grandchildren arrived. Strategies to slowly isolate Maya from family events. Maya's hands shook. She pulled out her phone and photographed every page. Then she found the text messages. Catherine's phone, connected to her laptop, displayed an open conversation with Daniel's aunt, Rebecca. Catherine, I don't know how much longer I can tolerate this situation. The girl is everywhere. Rebecca, can't you convince Daniel to reconsider? Surely he understands what's at stake. Catherine, he's blinded by lust. Thinks love conquers all. He'll learn eventually that some bridges shouldn't be crossed. The thread continued. Racist memes forwarded between them. Cruel jokes about Maya's appearance, her background, her family. Screenshots of Maya's social media with mocking commentary. Maya photographed everything. Her vision blurred with tears, but her hands stayed steady. Evidence. She needed evidence. The front door opened downstairs. Catherine's voice called out, Maya, darling, I'm back. Maya closed the laptop, pocketed her phone, and slipped out of the room. That evening at dinner, Catherine smiled across the table. I hope you've been comfortable, dear. We want you to feel at home here. Maya smiled back. Perfectly comfortable. Thank you. She ate her dinner calmly, made pleasant conversation, complimented the meal. Inside, her mind raced with everything she'd discovered. Daniel came home Sunday evening, kissing Maya at the door. How was your weekend? Enlightening, Maya said. She showed him the photos later that night, hands trembling despite her efforts to stay calm. Daniel's face drained of color. He scrolled through the journal entries, the text messages, the screenshots. When he finished, he looked up at Maya with something like horror. She's from a different generation, he whispered. She doesn't mean... Don't. Maya's voice cut sharp. Don't you dare defend this. I'm not defending it. Daniel ran his hands through his hair. I'm just saying, she grew up in a different time. These views aren't uncommon for people her age. Maya stared at the man she'd agreed to marry, really looked at him. He'd grown up in this house, absorbed these lessons, learned to excuse the inexcusable with phrases like different generation and didn't mean it. If you can read those words and still defend her, Maya said slowly, then you're part of the problem. Daniel reached for her. Maya, please. We can work through this. I'll talk to her. You've had 2 years to talk to her. Maya pulled away. You chose not to see. Or worse, you saw and said nothing. That night she stopped waiting for Daniel to defend her. She'd defend herself. Her grandmother's voice echoed clear, build your case, baby. Let the truth speak. Maya opened her documentation folder and began organizing evidence. Methodically, thoroughly. Building toward something. Catherine would never see coming. The anniversary gala was 3 months away. Plenty of time to prepare. 2 weeks after discovering the journal, Maya requested a private meeting with Catherine. They sat in that same sitting room, afternoon light filtering through silk curtains. Catherine poured tea like they were having a pleasant chat. Maya's voice stayed level. I know what you think of me. I've seen the journal. The messages. Catherine's hand paused mid-pour just for a heartbeat. Then she continued, setting the teapot down with practiced grace. Her smile never wavered. "Maya, dear, I think you've misunderstood some private thoughts taken completely out of context." Catherine's tone was gentle, almost pitying. "We all need spaces to process our feelings. Journals are meant to be private." "Those weren't feelings," Maya said. "They were slurs. Racist conspiracy theories about bloodlines." Catherine sipped her tea calmly. "You're being dramatic. I've been nothing but welcoming to you. Perhaps you're seeing offense where none exists." Maya pulled out her phone. "I have photos, evidence, every word you've written, every text you've sent." Catherine set down her cup. The mask slipped for just a moment. Something cold and calculating flickered across her face. Then the gracious smile returned. "Evidence of what exactly? A mother concerned about her son's future? Family discussions about traditions and compatibility?" Catherine leaned forward slightly. "Tell me, Maya, who do you think people will believe? You, the outsider who's been part of this family for 2 years? Or me, who's been a pillar of this community for 40 years? The words landed with surgical precision. Maya's stomach tightened. "I could show people—" "Show them what?" Catherine's voice stayed soft, reasonable. "That a mother has concerns? That I've shared private worries with family?" She tilted her head. "You'll look paranoid, vindictive, like you're trying to destroy Daniel's family because you can't accept that you don't quite fit our world." Catherine stood, smoothing her skirt. "I've worked very hard to build my reputation. I have friends in every influential circle in Connecticut. I sit on charity boards. I host fundraisers. People trust me." She walked to the window, gazing out at her perfect gardens. "If you try to expose me, you'll find yourself very alone. Daniel will side with his family. My friends will close ranks. You'll be the angry black woman who tried to tear down a beloved family because of imagined slights." The words hung in the air like poison. Catherine turned back, her smile warm as sunshine. "But none of that will be necessary because you're a smart woman. You understand how the world works. Some battles can't be won." Maya stood on shaking legs. "You don't get to treat me like this." "Oh, darling," Catherine said softly. "I already have. And I'll continue to." "Because you're not going to do anything about it." Maya left the room, Catherine's laughter following her down the hall. That night, she sat alone in her apartment, staring at the evidence on her phone. Catherine was right about one thing. The world protected people like her. Old money, old power, old networks that closed ranks against outsiders. But Catherine was wrong about something crucial. She'd underestimated who Maya was, where she came from, what she'd learned from a grandmother who'd faced down worse enemies and won. Maya opened her laptop. She didn't need Catherine's social circle to believe her. She just needed the right moment, the right audience, the right strategy. The anniversary gala was 2 months away. 2 months to prepare something Catherine's money and reputation couldn't defend against. Maya began planning. Her grandmother's chessboard sat beside her laptop, pieces arranged and ready, 3 moves ahead. Always 3 moves ahead. The night before the anniversary gala, Daniel found Maya in their home office, surrounded by files and notes. He'd been distant since she showed him the journal entries. Polite but careful, like she was a bomb that might explode. "Can we talk?" He leaned against the doorframe, hands in his pockets. Maya looked up from her laptop. "Sure." Daniel stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "Tomorrow is important to my parents. 40 years of marriage. All their friends celebrating with them." He ran a hand through his hair. "I'm asking you please to let this go. Just for one night." Maya's fingers stilled on her keyboard. "Let what go?" "The journal." "The texts. All of it." Daniel's voice carried a pleading edge. "I know my mother said things she shouldn't have. I know she's been difficult. But exposing her at her own anniversary party would be cruel." "Cruel." Maya repeated the word slowly. "That's the word you're using, cruel. She's still my mother." Daniel crossed the room, crouching beside Maya's chair. "I love you. I want this marriage to work. But destroying my family won't help us. Maya looked at the man she'd married 6 months ago. Really looked at him. His eyes were earnest, concerned. He genuinely believed he was asking something reasonable. "So I stay quiet," Maya said. "I smile through another evening of jokes and microaggressions. I let your mother treat me like an embarrassment while everyone watches and laughs. It's one night." Daniel took her hand. "After tomorrow we can set boundaries. Have serious conversations. But please don't ruin this anniversary." Maya pulled her hand away. "When exactly were you planning to set those boundaries?" "After she drives me out completely. After I disappear and stop being inconvenient." "That's not fair." "Fair." Maya's laugh was bitter. "You've spent 2 years asking me to be smaller, quieter, more palatable. You've never once asked your mother to be better." Daniel stood, frustration creeping into his voice. "I'm trying to keep peace in my family, and I'm the sacrifice that buys that peace." They stared at each other across an unbridgeable distance. Daniel had made his choice. "He'd been making it all along," one night, he said again. "That's all I'm asking." Maya turned back to her laptop. "Get out, Maya. Get out of this room, now." Daniel left. Maya heard him moving around the apartment, then the front door closing. Going to his parents' house to help with last-minute preparations. Choosing them. Again. Maya sat in the silence, her grandmother's lessons echoing through her mind. Patience, baby. Strategy. Build your case until no one can deny the truth. She picked up her phone and called her cousin Marcus, a tech specialist who owed her several favors. "Hey, cuz," Marcus answered. "What do you need?" "Audio setup for tomorrow night. Something that can sync with the venue's sound system." "Remote controlled," Marcus whistled low. "What are you planning?" "Justice?" Maya's voice was steel. "Can you do it?" "For you?" "Always." They worked through the night, preparing files, testing equipment, running through scenarios. At midnight, Maya sat alone in the dark, headphones on, reviewing the audio files one last time. Catherine's voice played through the speakers, clear and damning. Every slur, every conspiracy, every moment of cruelty preserved in digital perfection. Maya thought of her grandmother, imagining Lorraine's proud smile. "That's my girl. You don't react. You strategize." Tomorrow, the Rosewood estate would host 200 guests celebrating 40 years of Montgomery marriage. They'd drink expensive champagne, eat catered delicacies, toast to love and legacy. And Maya would show them exactly who Catherine Montgomery really was. She smiled for the first time in months. Not a polite smile, not a careful one. A smile of absolute certainty. The game was over. Catherine just didn't know it yet. Tomorrow everything changed. The Rosewood estate ballroom sparkled like a dream. Maya stood at the entrance in her ivory gown, champagne silk flowing to the floor. She'd chosen it carefully. Elegant, undeniable. A statement Catherine couldn't dismiss as too bold. Guests arrived in waves. Air kisses, designer suits, laughter that rang hollow and bright. Catherine held court near the grand staircase, radiant in deep burgundy. Richard stood beside her, silver-haired and distinguished. They looked like American royalty. No one looked at Maya and saw what she carried inside. Evident strategy, her grandmother's fire burning quiet and deadly. Daniel appeared at her side, adjusting his tie. "You look beautiful," he said softly. Maya didn't respond. They'd barely spoken since last night. He'd slept in the guest room, left early for final preparations. The distance between them had calcified into something permanent. The evening unfolded in choreographed perfection. Dinner was served. Filet mignon, roasted vegetables, wine that cost more than Maya's monthly rent. Conversations bubbled around her. People asked polite questions, their eyes sliding past her like she was furniture. Catherine worked the room like a conductor, touching shoulders, sharing laughs, basking in adoration. Everyone loved her. Generous Catherine, gracious Catherine. The woman who chaired 3 charity boards and hosted fundraisers that raised millions. Maya watched it all, feeling herself disappear. She was the only black face in a sea of white, the only one who knew what Catherine really was. And no one, not one person, seemed to notice or care. For a moment doubt crept in, cold and insidious. What if Catherine was right? What if the world protected people like her no matter what truth emerged? What if Maya's evidence meant nothing against 40 years of carefully constructed reputation? The weight of isolation pressed down on her chest. She was alone in this room full of people. Alone in her marriage. Alone in this fight. Then the MC tapped the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, Catherine Montgomery will now say a few words." The room erupted in applause. Catherine glided to the stage, every inch the beloved matriarch. She took the microphone, her smile radiant. Maya's hand found her phone in her clutch. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Marcus had synced everything perfectly. One button. That's all it would take. Her grandmother's chessboard flashed through her mind. The final move, the one you've been building toward all along. Maya exhaled slowly, steadied herself, remembered who she was. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. Catherine's voice filled the ballroom, warm and practiced. "Thank you all for being here tonight. 40 years ago, Richard and I began a journey together. We've built a beautiful life, a strong family, a legacy we're proud of." Applause rippled through the crowd. Catherine paused, letting it wash over her. "Family is everything," she continued. "Protecting what we've built, maintaining our values, these things matter, especially when the world changes so rapidly around us." Her gaze found Maya across the room, just for a moment, a look that said, "See? You can't touch me." "We've had to make some adjustments over the years," Catherine said, her tone light, conversational, welcoming new energy into our family circle. Different perspectives, different backgrounds, a few knowing chuckles. Maya's jaw tightened. "It hasn't always been easy," Catherine admitted with a self-deprecating smile. "We're old-fashioned, Richard and I. We believe in tradition, in maintaining certain standards, but we're learning to embrace diversity." She emphasized the word like it tasted strange in her mouth, "even when it walks through our door uninvited." The laughter grew louder. Some guests shifted uncomfortably, but most smiled along. Catherine was beloved. Catherine was funny. Catherine could say anything and make it sound charming. Maya stood. Her chair scraped against the floor. The room's attention shifted. Catherine's smile faltered just slightly. Daniel half rose from his seat, panic flashing across his face. Maya walked toward the stage. Her heels clicked against marble, each step deliberate. Whispers followed her like a wave. She felt 200 pairs of eyes tracking her movement. Catherine gripped the microphone tighter. "Maya, dear, I'm in the middle of—" Maya reached the stage steps, climbed them slowly. Catherine backed up slightly, uncertainty flickering behind her practiced poise. Maya took the microphone from Catherine's hand. Their fingers brushed. Catherine's were ice-cold. "Thank you, Catherine," Maya said, her voice carrying clear and steady through the speakers. "That was quite a speech." "I'd like to share something, too." Catherine's face went pale beneath her makeup. "This isn't appropriate, isn't it?" Maya turned to face the crowd. 200 faces stared back, confusion and curiosity mingling. Catherine just spoke about family, about tradition, about protecting what matters. She pulled her phone from her clutch. Marcus had set everything up perfectly. The venue's sound system, the wireless connection, the files queued and ready. I think everyone should hear what protecting tradition really means in the Montgomery family. Maya pressed play. The ballroom speakers crackled to life. Catherine's voice emerged crystal clear from a private recording Maya had made 3 months ago. "I don't know how long I can tolerate this situation. The girl is everywhere, inserting herself into every family event like she belongs." The room went silent. Forks stopped midair. Conversations died. To every eye fixed on the speakers, then on Catherine, whose face had drained completely of color. "Richard worries about bloodline contamination," Catherine's recorded voice continued. What will our grandchildren look like? What will people think? We've built something pure here. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Catherine lunged for Maya. "This is edited." "Lies, she's trying to—" Maya stepped back, letting the recording play. The next clip was from Catherine's journal, read aloud by automated voice synthesis. Journal entry, March 15th. Daniel's infatuation with that woman continues. She lacks breeding, lacks refinement. Her kind always pushes too hard, demands too much. More gasps. A woman at table 3 covered her mouth. Daniel sat frozen, his face ashen. Her kind, the voice repeated. Always loud, always inappropriate. We should have stopped this relationship before it went too far. Maya played the next file. Text messages between Catherine and her sister Rebecca, displayed on her phone screen for the front tables to see. Catherine: "I can't believe Daniel brought her to Thanksgiving. She made Richard carve the turkey differently because of some cultural sensitivity nonsense." Rebecca: "Can't you get rid of her? Convince Daniel she's not suitable?" Catherine: "I'm trying. But he's blinded by exotic appeal. Men always are." The room erupted in whispers. Shock rolled through the crowd like thunder. Catherine's carefully built facade crumbled in real time. Maya's voice cut through the chaos, amplified by the microphone. "I spent 2 years trying to fit into this family. 2 years being small, being quiet, enduring jokes about my background disguised as humor." She locked eyes with Catherine. "I wanted to belong. I tried to earn respect. But you don't get to erase me. You don't get to mock my existence and call it family tradition." Catherine's hands shook. "You had no right to record private racism is still racism." Maya's voice stayed level, controlled. "You thought I was too weak to fight back. Too afraid of losing Daniel, losing acceptance. You underestimated me." She played one final recording. Catherine's voice filled the speakers again, this time from a conversation with Daniel's aunt just 2 weeks ago. "I'll tolerate her presence. I'll smile at family photos. But I will never accept that kind of person as part of my bloodline. Never. She's a stain on everything we've built." The silence that followed was absolute. Crushing. Maya watched. Catherine's world collapse. Daniel stood slowly, staring at his mother with horror dawning across his face. "Mom," Catherine reached for him. "Daniel, sweetheart, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." His voice cracked. "I just didn't want to see it." Guests began standing. First one, then another. A prominent lawyer from Catherine's charity board walked toward the exit without a word. Then a couple from table 5. Then more. The exodus started slowly, then accelerated. People leaving quietly, disgust written across their faces. 40 years of reputation dissolving like sugar in rain. Catherine stood alone on the stage, watching her carefully constructed empire crumble. She turned to Maya, something desperate flickering in her eyes. "You've destroyed me." Maya met her gaze without flinching. "No, I just let everyone hear who you really are." "You destroyed yourself." Catherine's sister Rebecca tried to approach, then stopped, frozen by the weight of public shame. Richard stood motionless, his distinguished face slack with shock. Maya descended the stage steps. Daniel reached for her arm. She pulled away. "Maya, please, we can talk about this." "There's nothing left to talk about." Maya's voice was quiet, final. "You knew. You always knew. You just chose her over me, over what's right, over everything." She walked through the half-empty ballroom, past staring faces and whispered conversations, past the ruins of Catherine's anniversary celebration, past the wreckage of her marriage. At the entrance she paused, looked back one last time. Catherine stood on the stage, burgundy silk like spilled wine, her perfect smile finally, completely gone. Maya stepped into the night air and didn't look back again. 6 weeks later, Maya sat in her new apartment, a bright loft in Brooklyn with exposed brick and morning light that poured through tall windows. The divorce papers sat on her kitchen counter, signed and filed. Daniel had tried to reach her 17 times in the first week, apologizing, begging, explaining. Maya blocked his number after message 12. Some wounds couldn't be fixed with sorry. The fallout had been spectacular. Catherine's charity board positions evaporated within days. Her social circle dissolved like morning fog. 3 families publicly cut ties. The Connecticut Society pages, which had praised her for decades, now whispered her name with disgust. Maya didn't feel triumph, just exhaustion, and beneath it something lighter. The absence of weight she'd been carrying so long, she'd forgotten what freedom felt like. Her phone buzzed. Another email to the consultation service she'd launched 3 weeks ago. Legal advocacy for workplace and family discrimination. The messages poured in daily. Women, mostly. People of color navigating hostile work environments, cruel families, systems designed to keep them silent. "Your story gave me courage," one email read. "I've been documenting my boss's racism for months, but was too scared to report it. After seeing what you did, I filed with HR yesterday. Thank you." Maya closed her laptop and walked to the window. Brooklyn stretched out below, messy, diverse, alive. Her grandmother's chessboard sat on the desk behind her, pieces arranged in their starting positions. She thought about Catherine sometimes, wondered if she'd learned anything, or just felt victimized by cancel culture. Probably the latter. People like Catherine rarely looked inward, but that wasn't Maya's burden anymore. She'd carried Catherine's shame long enough. Let Catherine carry her own now. Daniel sent one final letter last week, handwritten, pages long, apologies and explanations and promises to do better. Maya read it once, then filed it away. Not as something to cherish, as evidence of what she'd survived. Her phone rang. Marcus. "Hey, cuz, you see the Times piece?" Maya pulled up the article. Rising voices. Young attorneys fighting discrimination in the digital age. Her photo right there in print. Her story told on her terms. "You're famous," Marcus said, pride warm in his voice. "I'm just standing up," Maya corrected. "Like Grandma taught me. She'd be so proud." Maya smiled, throat tight. Yeah, she would be. After hanging up, she sat at her desk and opened her consultation calendar. 15 appointments scheduled for next week. 15 people who needed someone to believe them, to help them document, to remind them they weren't crazy or vindictive or imagining things. She thought about the woman she'd been 2 years ago, walking into the Montgomery estate for the first time, hopeful, eager to belong. Willing to shrink herself for acceptance, that woman was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, someone who knew that belonging meant nothing if you lost yourself to get it. Maya picked up the queen from her grandmother's chessboard, turned it over in her hand, the most powerful piece, the one that moves in every direction. She smiled and set it back down, not in its starting position. 3 moves ahead, always 3 moves ahead. Maya stood at her window as sunset painted Brooklyn gold and amber. She thought about silence, how it had felt like protection once, like survival, like the only option. Her grandmother used to say that patience wasn't weakness. That strategy wasn't surrender. Lorraine had been right about so much. But she'd been right about this most of all. The truth doesn't need rage to land. It just needs space to breathe, evidence to stand on, and the courage to let it speak. Catherine had spent 40 years building walls of reputation and respectability. She'd believed those walls were impenetrable. That old money and social status made her untouchable. She'd underestimated one crucial thing: documentation beats reputation every time. Maya didn't hate Catherine anymore. Hatred required energy, attention, caring. She felt nothing now except a quiet satisfaction that justice had arrived. Not through shouting or destruction, but through truth presented so clearly no one could deny it. The messages kept coming. Stories from strangers who'd found courage in her courage. People who'd been gaslit, diminished, told they were too sensitive or imagining things. Now they were documenting, speaking up, refusing to disappear. That legacy mattered more than any society page ever could. Maya opened her laptop one last time that evening. Reread the email from a young black woman navigating a hostile corporate environment. You showed me that silence isn't strength, that standing up isn't destruction. Thank you for being first, she typed her response. You were always strong. I just reminded you. Her grandmother's chessboard caught the fading light. Maya walked over, ran her fingers across the worn wooden squares. This board had witnessed decades of lessons, strategies, victories won through patience and precision. Now it witnessed her transformation, from woman trying to belong to woman who knew she already did, just not in spaces that required her diminishment. Maya looked at her reflection in the window. Same face, different eyes, eyes that had seen cruelty and chosen truth over comfort, eyes that had learned the difference between keeping peace and keeping dignity. She smiled, not the careful, controlled smile she'd worn in Catherine's world. Her real smile, free, unguarded, hers. Outside, Brooklyn hummed with Saturday evening life. Inside, Maya stood in light she'd claimed for herself. She whispered the words her grandmother had taught her at 8 years old, the ones that had carried her through every battle since. Dignity is the longest game, but it always wins, and finally, completely, she believed it.